Hello, Jackal Loves You here. I just wanted to come on and do a quick video because some people were asking what kind of medication I take and what exactly I have going on. I know that I talk a lot about, like, in little snippets, like, oh, I have this, or I'm getting this checked out. So I just kind of wanted to explain a little bit. Let's start off with some of the basics that if you're following me on Instagram, you probably know about, which are depression and anxiety. For my depression, I take Cymbalta. Over the counter is called Duolexin. One second. I went ahead and I got all of my medications so I can tell you exactly what's going on. Duolexin. So I take 60 milligrams, and that's every day. On top of having major depression or major depressive disorder, whichever you want to call it, I also have SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder, and a lot of people know that as winter depression. So basically, the sun goes away in the winter, it's just a little further away, everything's colder. That kind of just screws with your brain and you are sadder. I have that to keep me company in the winter time. That's Duolexin. I originally tried Zoloft, which I know a lot of people are on, but honestly, it just made me a zombie, and it made my depression symptoms so much worse. Like, I had to get my mom to come and basically babysit me for the day and a half that it was in my system because I was just really, really bad. I stopped taking that, and then that's around the time that I found out that I had multiple drug intolerance syndrome. Basically, my body is extra sensitive to lots of different medications. You only need to be really sensitive to 3 medications for it to be considered multiple drug intolerance syndrome. But for the most part, I react very negatively to almost any pill that I put in my body. And even further than that, caffeine affects me like super high. I get drunk super fast. It's just that my body doesn't filter out what it needs to, and so I get all of these side effects on different medications. It just all piles on. We found out that I had multiple drug intolerance syndrome, and so they were like, normally we start people on 60 milligrams, which is the lowest dose for the medicine to work. And so they were like, okay, well, let's step it back. For 4 weeks, we want you to take 20 milligrams. And then for the next 4 weeks, take 20 more milligrams. And then for the next 4 weeks, take another 20 milligrams until you're at the lowest dosage that could probably work. Then you have to wait 4 more weeks to figure out if the medicine even works. And so on this 20 milligrams of Cymbalta, on 20 milligrams, which is okay, let me do math actually. 1/3 of what I needed to take for it to actually start working, I was still having severe side effects. I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep for 4 days. I started sweating a lot. I was having night terrors. For the first time in my whole life, my feet started sweating, which was like really gross, but the doctor was like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Welcome to the club. People's feet sweat. I was like, well, mine usually don't. And he was like, well, not much we can do about that. So, moving on. I haven't been diagnosed with it, so I don't know if I have generalized anxiety disorder, which is like the overarching, you just have general anxiety all the time. But my therapist, who's just a psychologist, so she doesn't have the power to like diagnose me with stuff, she's pretty sure that I do have that. That being said, I do have a prescription of diazepam, and it's like as needed if I'm having a panic attack or an anxiety attack or I can't calm down, and then I can take some of those. So I'm not on something that I take every day like Cymbalta. That being said, doctors usually give people starting at 10 milligrams for diazepam. They started me out on 2 milligrams just to make sure that everything was going to be okay. So they told me to bite the pill in half and then take half of it and make sure that that was okay. And so now if I'm like having anxiety or anything like that, I'll take maybe 2 or 3 because that would be 4 to 6 milligrams, and the doctors are already like, okay, we'll just kind of figure out what is best for you and do that. So those are my avenues of anxiety and depression for medication and kind of what's going on. For my insomnia, I have the CBD, but I also very occasionally take melatonin. And I know that melatonin helps a lot of people. However, I don't like to take it all that much because even if I take a very low amount of it, I have an incredibly difficult time waking up in the morning, which I already have a terrible time getting out of bed because of my depression. I just lay in bed and won't get up, and it's it's so exhausting to not be able to get out of bed. Anyway, those are the primary mental illnesses that I have, which you can kind of go deeper and say that I have CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, but that kind of like intertwines with childhood abuse and my depression and anxiety, so it's kind of all lumped together. I also might have ADHD. It's one of those things that I'm on TikTok a lot now, right? And TikTok just keeps giving me these videos that are like, put a finger down if you blah blah blah, and I'm over here like, and then at the end they're like, oh well then you probably have ADHD, and I'm like, dude, what? So but that also could be attributed to some other neurodivergence. Like, I think that there are some things that I haven't been diagnosed with yet that explain some of the other neurodivergent bullshit that my brain does, but until that time, we can now move on to my physical ailments. Short story time. I was working at my 9-to-5 job a couple months in, and all of a sudden I'm just sitting at my desk and there's something in my mouth and I'm like, what is this? I pull it out and it's like fleshy and smells really bad and is like almost gray, and I immediately freaked out. I was like, WebMD, found out I might have cancer. They always lie. I went to the doctor and I was like, hey, what the F? And they were like, oh, so it turns out that you have such bad heartburn that the acid in your stomach is coming up to your esophagus, and it is so prominent in your esophagus that your esophagus is literally deteriorating from the acid, and then whenever it is dead, it comes up. So gross. Anyway, so I was like, ew, what the fuck? What the F? They put me on esomeprazole magnesium. It's also called Nexium. So basically, I'm on a pretty high dose of this, 40 milligrams. Usually they have like 20 or 30 milligrams, but this one doesn't actually affect my stomach or give me migraines or any of the side effects. So I can take this one pretty regularly. So I take this one every morning with my antidepressant. Basically, it just like stops me from getting heartburn. So fast forward maybe like 6 months, I'm taking the medicine very regularly, and my throat just starts coming up, just like and so I was like, hey, what the heck? So then I had to go through a series of tests, and they were like, let's make sure you don't have anything wrong like going on in your stomach area. So they did an ultrasound, they did blood work, and they still kind of don't know what it is. Right now we're in this system of like trying to figure out what exactly I have. So that brings us to our last medication that I have to take. Oh, this isn't it. Okay, well give me what is this? Oh, it's an antibiotic. Okay, never mind. Okay, here we go. Famotidine. I'm pretty sure that's it. I practiced it when I was in the when I was in the doctor's office. I was like, say it again. How do you spell it? Famotidine. So I'm on 20 milligrams tablets of that. And this one does make me pretty nauseous. This one is to actually decrease the amount of acid that's in my stomach. Because I've started this pretty recently, it's been probably a week since I started it, I have been throwing up and getting sick, and it's very frustrating because I have a lot of stomach issues as well that I'm not on medication for. Because they don't really know what's going on, they think that maybe the stomach acid has to do with me throwing up. I throw up probably 2 to 3 times a month, and am nauseous probably at least like 2 weeks out of the month, which is just bullshit if you ask me. I hate it. they actually had to prescribe me, it was a nausea reliever. They were like, this is one of the more powerful ones we have, because they were giving me other stuff. It wasn't working. I would take it and then just immediately throw it back up. And so they gave me this really strong one. I looked it up and it turns out, oh, I didn't realize my hair's crazy. I always get so self-conscious of what my hair's doing when I'm on camera. I looked up the medicine and it turns out that this is the nausea medicine that they give cancer patients when they're going through chemo, because chemo makes them very nauseous. So that's basically how nauseous I get. It really forces me into bed. And honestly, it's like all of these different things are super tough. And they really weigh on my mental illnesses. And then my mental illnesses make me sadder about my physical illnesses. And then you kind of have to keep yourself from going down a spiral of letting one affect the other worse and worse until you're in this hole. So yeah, that's really difficult. I don't know how long that wasn't recording. Basically, I'll go back. This is Trisprintec, also known as Trinessa. It makes me sick, morning sickness at the beginning of the months usually, because my brain thinks that it's morning sickness, like I'm pregnant, so that's fun. And basically I'm really tired of being sick all the time, feeling nauseous and getting sad about that, and then going through a loop. So yeah. Also, I'm low in iron. So I take this, which also makes me sick. So I have to bite this in half, 28 milligrams per serving. So I take 14 every other day to not get sick. I think that's it.
Okay, hey. My card ran out of memory. Just wanted to keep you guys updated and hopefully make you feel a little better about your situation if you're struggling with any of these things. So, thank you so much, and remember, Jacko loves you. Bye.